I just want to link a little bit for those of you who were here last week. Link back to last week where we talked about worked with a poem, a couple of poems, a Bill Stafford poem, and uh, and also one of my poems. And just I'll just give you those two stanzas of the Bill Stafford poem that we started with, and we only worked with the first stanza last week, but we're going to work with the second stanza this week. Stafford said, "If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern others made may prevail, and following the wrong, we may both miss our star." We worked with that last week, that first one. And then there's three stanzas that uh, describe a circus coming to town and the elephant, the line of elephants coming through town with the tail of one, the trunk of the next one's holding it, and they're parading through town. And then one of the elephants loses the tail of the one in front of him. And then everything all scatters all over the place, and it's the circus is going all over town, in disarray. And then he ends the whole thing with this stanza, which we're going to work with today. So he starts with basically, if we don't know who each other are, a pattern other people may make may prevail. And following the wrong God home, we may both miss our star. And he was using that old pre electricity, pre cable, pre satellite view that the night show was up in the night sky and all the stars, and there was that belief that there was one star for you. You had a destiny out there, and you could navigate by that star. So the whole idea was to find the word destiny, the word desire comes from the original words for star. So you could miss that star. That's one of the tragedies of life. You can follow the wrong God home. And we talked about the gods of our culture last week: appearance, achievement, and affluence, AAA. You can really see our whole culture that way. Your appearance, your body image, your achievements, and then also your affluence and how much money you have. All those things are how we define ourselves by the culture. You can follow any of those or all of those wrong gods and miss your star. And then if you saw the screensaver, a lovely woman in Florida sent me that after last week or after she read the poem on Monday. I'm not sure which, but an alternative to the true appearance, achievement, and affluence would be three more A's. It would be awakening, the awareness that leads to authenticity. So this progression, awakening, awareness, authenticity, that just means to find your own star, to find out who you really are, to find out what your calling is, and then to follow it. That's a different kind of life. We were working with Merton's. He said, Merton said, your life is shaped by the end you live for. I don't know about you, but I'm living for authenticity. I don't know what that is, I'm working towards it, just the way an acorn doesn't know what the giant oak tree is going to exactly look like, but it knows it wants to spend its life becoming that. If you're an enlightened acorn, that is. If you're not such an enlightened acorn, you could spend your whole life polishing your shell. See, so that's where we're going. Now, here's the last stanza of Stafford. And again, I would check out the Bill Stafford poem. It's one of the great keepers. It's called A Ritual to be Read to Each Other, which means we have to keep reading this. We have to keep waking up, you see. We have to keep waking ourselves up because our propensity as human beings is not only to forget everything, but just sort of to go to sleep. a kind of waking sleep. So Stafford says at the end, he says, for it's important that awake people be awake, or a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes or no or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep. For it's important that awake people be awake, or breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes or no or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep. And the darkness is sleep. You can go to sleep on your calling, on your life. You wake up gripping the sheets in the ICU and say, wow, that was brief. Where did that all go? What are you going to do with your one wild, precious life, as Mary Oliver says at the end of Summer Day? So this is like, and you're here because in a way, you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to wake up. And if you didn't want to, you're pulled by something, you're drawn by something to be here, And so, and you do wake up sometimes here. I wake up giving these talks sometimes. That's why I like to do them, to sort of wake me up. I never know what I'm going to say. So it's nice to wake up to what I really know. But then how can you stay awake? That's today's poem that we're going to look at. How to stay awake. How to stay awake. Waking up is beautiful, but then there's going back to sleep. So how do you stay awake? That's what the title of this poem is. And it'll be in tomorrow, the Monday morning poem that I send out at 4:00 every morning. So look for it if you want to text. How to stay awake. We've all been struck by lightning repeatedly in this life. Suddenly, something changes. You lose your job, or marriage, a child, a pet, a democracy. It dies just like that. And it rocks your world. We've all been hit and struck by lightning repeatedly in this life. Suddenly something changes. You lose a job, a marriage, someone you know, a parent, a child, a pet, a democracy, just dies just like that. And it rocks your world. Lightning strikes and we wake up to the reality that our life, that this life that we are living right now could end at any moment. We've always known that, but now somehow we really know it. Yet all too soon, most of us fall back to sleep, falling back into the United States of amnesia. So you listening right now, remember this. It may take a flash of lightning to wake up a zombie, but it will surely take sustained spiritual practice to stabilize the flash of lightning and learn how to truly live a life that is both precious and awake. Lightning strikes and we wake up to the reality that this life that we are living right now could end at any moment. We've always known that, but somehow we really know it when we lose something, when somebody else dies, rocks our world. And all too soon, most of us fall back to sleep, falling back into the United States of amnesia. So, you listening right now, remember this: it may take a flash of lightning to wake up a zombie, but it will take sustained spiritual practice to stabilize that flash of lightning and to learn how to truly live a life that is both precious and awake. Yeah, just to reflect on that a little bit, and then and then we can um, take the reflection deeper down to the depths. Uh, you know, it happens. That's what it means to be human. Thank goodness. I mean, our life is, because it is impermanent, it doesn't last forever. It's a built-in spiritual alarm clock. We lose things. People die just like that. I was 40 before somebody died just like that. That was a long time to go through life without, I was teaching grade school kids when my grandmother died. And, I was 40 and they had all lost a lot of stuff. I never lost anything like that. And then it's funny, but then people just keep dying. The older you get, people just keep dying. The alarm clock, it seems like the older you get. My grandmother died at 96. She would have lost almost everybody she knew, you see. So the older you get, the more the alarm keeps going off. And when are you going to, can you stabilize that though? I remember when a woman I taught with for 17 years died of cancer. And we had a big funeral at school, and it was quite devastating. She was really a great teacher and a great friend. And we went to mass. We all lined the way. She walked. They brought the coffin in, and then we had all the church full of kids, and they were all sobbing and whatever, because most of those kids had her for a teacher. And then the funeral was over, and we were supposed to all go back to class, and teach the row or do math. And I just couldn't do it, and neither could my kids. So we just went out. I told them, I said, bring your journals to the ceremony, and then we'll go out under the maple trees next to the church and just sit there and just let us settle in. So we did that. And then I went and got the next class, and we went out. We spent the whole afternoon just out under the trees, no talking, just writing and sitting and watching the little whirligigs come down. Happened in the fall. But then, next day back to school, as if nothing happened. We've all been there. And so that waking up to that, of how thin, how precious the life is and how fragile it is, we forget about it. Then we go back and we just, sort of zombie through the day. I do. And so the question is, the greats figure out how you do that. When Merton was on the street corner and had this brilliant breakthrough, where he saw everybody shining like the sun, he saw, well, these people weren't different, and I wasn't more holy because I was behind the walls in a monastery. He was just walking from a doctor's appointment in downtown Louisville, in the middle of the shopping district, and he was going to go spend a day out and then go back to the monastery. That's what monks do, and go drink some bourbon and play around. But then he had this thing was he just saw everybody. He's the flash of lightning. It wasn't a death so much as a real seeing through epiphany. And the difference with Merton is he stabilized that. He never let go of that. So the last 10 years of his life were very different. He died young. He wasn't even 52. He died before he was 52. So this happened when he was about 42. And it changed the course of his life. Your life is shaped by the end you live for. And he realized he wasn't going to live for being a better monk contemplating, that he was living now for these people. And so it changed everything, how he wrote all of his topics. That's when people bailed on Merton, especially the hierarchy, because he wasn't talking about contemplation in the monastery. He was talking about racism, sexism, misogyny, uh, war, peace, nuclear weapons, the things that affected not only him all the time, but all these people. And that's the brilliance of Merton, the brilliance of guys like the Dalai Lama and these saints that are, around my, loosely follow here. I'm looking at all the saints, Mary Magdalene. The difference between all these people we look up to is they had a life just like us, but then when they had that a certain flash of lightning, they never went back to sleep. They found a way to stay awake. In other words, they all had spiritual practices that got them there to that awakening, but then to integrate it. See, then to make it stable and make it actually, you're living for something else then. Merton was living for something. So he had a different end he was living for. See, without a spiritual practice, I don't know how you do it. And spiritual practice doesn't have to be any one way of doing it, and it doesn't even actually have to be what anybody would consider spiritual. But you have to have some way to stabilize it. Unless you just want to go on forgetting these things and then waiting for the next strike of lightning. It'll come. Life is good. It's built to wake you up, you see. That's brilliant if you think about it. But it'd be nice because if you stay awake, well, then you're living for something else. Awakening, the awareness that leads to authenticity. So awakening is first, but then the awareness is a kind of more stable thing. Now, when we drop in a minute, we'll go into meditation and I'll just give you a nudge to drop down the body, the body brain, which is the brain stem, and then the mind, which is the rational mind, the logical mind, our wetware up here, beautiful, all beautiful. But to drop all that deeper into the heart, which is a seat of awareness. Thinking's great. Awareness is, it's total. You can't forget it. So we're dropping these things that happen to us down to the heart. Awareness heals. So we're also, as we drop our body and mind into the heart, we're dropping all our wounds, all our mistakes, all our puzzles, all our mysteries into the heart, the deepest part of consciousness, the soul, okay, below the mind. That's why you have to sort of let go of, a thought on the process. Vagrius Ponticus, one of the earliest desert fathers in the Christian thing, he said, prayer is the laying aside of thoughts. Doesn't mean you give them up. Doesn't mean you never think again. Doesn't mean thoughts are wrong. It just means we're going to set them aside for a while, you see, as we drift down into this deeper place where we can have this meeting. The Sunday meetings are called heart to heart because this is the heart of the whole thing. It's why it's right in the middle, you see. It's why after the inspiration, we drop down and take in whatever words have resonated, maybe whatever thoughts have resonated. Well, you can leave the thoughts, but you take the resonance down because the heart works with resonance. And then we're heart to heart, our human heart and everything it holds is in the presence of the divine heart. This is just, and there's nothing else you need to do but just go there, and then you're with the great mystery here, so there's nothing to figure out. And there's a terrific amount of healing happens in that space. That's all I know. I mean, from my own experience, not from a book or anything, but the wounds I've had in life, if they were ever healed, they're healed there. And the wounds we don't even know about can be healed there. Because again, we're beyond conceptual knowledge, or we're beyond even memory there. And so when we go down there, who's to know what's being healed? Those early traumas from childhood, those early ancestral traumas. We all came from a people who left what they knew and came here. Even the Native Americans came from Eurasia, They're just the birds and the bees and the buffaloes here, and then humans start coming. So we're all really immigrants. But see, so my grandfather just left Italy, and in those days, after World War I, they figured they'd never be back. The Dalai Lama's left Tibet when he was 24. He's never been back. These are things that uh, can be healed. Just this grief, this loss. So we're going down to that place now.